Hey kids, straight talking Fedora Chic coming at ya. And yep, you read the title of this video correctly. Lost about 50 pounds the past year, and about half of what I lost was more or less an accident. And I should learn to stop trying to read without my glasses. There we go, much better. Well, I had not planned on doing this video so soon. Let's get into it. This video will not win me any popularity contests given societal attitudes toward overweight women, but to me this is too important to worry about that. I have just been seeing way too much ignorance with those who insist on fat shaming without having all the facts. Fortunately, in recent years there is science has been coming out actually saying that weight gain or loss and weight management is often problematic, and the old move more, eat less is nothing more than a platitude, and a meaningless one at that. It's outmoded thinking, and kids, I am living proof of this. I will have some links to some interesting articles below in the description box for your perusal. Not only because of what happened to me the past decade and not getting answers from doctors and such, but also my ex-partner, like many of my relatives on both sides of my family, had diabetes. So more often than not, unfortunately, we are left to our own devices. I did my own research regarding this subject. Sadly, with many metabolic disorders, weight issues, and such, we are often left to our own devices. So, as you heard me mention a few minutes ago, I did lose 50 pounds the past year, and it was the only significant weight loss I had since turning 40. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, much of it was accidental, for lack of a better term. Yeah, but I will get to that later. There was only one other time in that decade I lost weight, but it was about 15 pounds in 11 months. My first and failed attempt at veganism. Yeah. So we're going to take a trip down memory lane explaining what happened after I turned 40. It is pertinent to the story. It is how I got to where I am today, basically. Okay. So this, almost after 20 years of being a vegetarian, shortly after I turned 40, I ate a healthy diet, except for maybe a bit too much dairy at times. Unfortunately, like for so many, cheese is like crack to me. Now, before anyone comes trolling here telling me to eat meat or other animal products, don't bother. Not happening. Long story short, I found out in my 20s that I couldn't digest meat. That may be another video for another time, but right now, being vegan is working really well for me, and I am not making the same mistakes I did the first time around. Anyway, I did gain some weight in my 30s, but nothing out of the ordinary. Up until my early 30s, I had a cocaine and speed addiction. And when I stopped using and became clean and sober, I was told the weight gain was normal and that my metabolism would slow down after giving up these drugs. Plus, since both of those drugs usually cause loss of appetite, at that time I wasn't eating much of anything, thus not getting enough calories. Since that weight gain did not lead me to be overweight, went to about 165 pounds, I am a little over 5'8". I didn't think much of it. I was finally determined to be straight and drug-free, and that was where my priorities laid. Did I develop a food addiction back when I first quit using dope? Well, no. I was eating a normal vegetarian diet as opposed to not eating at all or eating precious little. I didn't overeat. Did I binge? No more than anybody else. For some, it's a daily event. For some others, it's an occasion. But no, there was nothing. Nothing significant in the way of a food addiction or eating disorder. There was another time, just around the time I turned 40, I tried quitting smoking, and it was the longest time I went without my precious cigs. Again, I was told by a doctor that quitting smoking would slow down my metabolism. Plus, there would be that whole hand-to-mouth act I would be missing. Yeah, logic. Many, of course, who quit smoking would turn to eating. I started back smoking about 7 months later. I'm not going to lie, I really do enjoy smoking. I was really miserable when I quit. Depression and anxiety symptoms were becoming more amplified. Basically, I no longer felt like myself. I felt like a mere shell of my former self. But I digress. Anyway, my weight really ballooned at that time. Other than the quitting and resuming smoking, my lifestyle hadn't changed. I was still a vegetarian. I still worked a 40-hour week. I remained clean from drugs, and to this day, I've been off the speed and coke for 20 years now. So I guess that's quite an accomplishment to be proud of. I was wondering what the hell was happening. I had joined a gym, kicking and screaming pretty much, as I hate working out. I hate gym people. I hate gym culture. It brings me back to stripping naked in communal showers in the girls' locker room from high school phys ed, which again, I despised. True, I don't like much of anything. Oh well, it is what it is. I had the luxury of time as I was taking a break from my job. Yes, kids, part of having issues with migraines and mental illness, I couldn't always work and often crashed and burned. I even sprung for a personal trainer at this gym. I was prescribed exercises and encouraged to take the spinning or cardio classes. Got to admit though, I kind of liked the spinning. Anyway, I started working out at this gym 6 days a week for about 2 hours per day, give or take. Hell, I was a-moving. No one could have accused me otherwise. I hated it, and I hated the people there, but I forced myself. But as the months wore on, I did not lose a pound. Yes, kids, you heard that right. I did not lose a pound. You know something else I noticed about other women around me in my age bracket who liked sports and did sports all the time? They remained overweight too. So anyways, yeah, I didn't even lose an ounce. By the time the 6 month rolled around, I was back at work full time and workouts were exhausting. And the increasing frustration of not losing the weight led me to wonder why I am killing myself here. Plus my job, easy for me to say, took all my energy and focus both mentally and physically. I stopped going to the gym. I didn't gain, but I was still at 220 pounds. I had given up. It was what it was. I had seen the doctors at the time. I was ignored. My mother had suggested that I should ask the doctor to get my thyroid checked. And that made sense. I knew other women who had hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, who gained weight and couldn't lose it despite their best efforts. I started researching it. I had a lot of the symptoms. When I would ask the doctor to send me for a blood test to have my thyroid tested, it fell on deaf ears. I think a lot of us, if not most of us, has a vibe when something is wrong with our health. And it's no different here. I really did feel strongly that there was an issue with my thyroid. What other explanation for that weight gain would there be? And more to the point, why was I unable to lose it despite my best efforts? Again, my ex-partner and I only ate healthy food. He was a diabetic with many other health issues. So of course I was careful with managing our meals. Then another blow. I had a nervous breakdown of sorts, if we can call it that. I don't know what they call that anymore, the scientific term. Anyways, it was not the first time, and certainly it wasn't the last. As my previous psychiatrist pretty much did not believe in medication unless the situation with a patient was dire, I was not on anything for many years, nor did I want to be. Too many terrible side effects, often than not, I personally didn't see any point to it. That's not to say, kids, if you're on medication for mental illness, I'm not telling you to get off them. You do you. It's between you and your healthcare professionals. Anyway, my old psychiatrist was long retired by this time, and I had no one following up, nor was I really working toward that, getting follow-up. All my efforts were concentrated on my job, a job that had high stress levels, but it was also the most rewarding job I ever did. Plus, I sat on the executive of my union local, another thankless job that I enjoyed immensely. Yes, kids, I was the first woman in my family to serve my union. Anyway, I was not doing too well. PTSD has a strange way of creeping up on us, and it is merciless to say the least. Memories of childhood trauma were becoming more and more present. It didn't take much to trigger me, and I was having issues with some coworkers. It was just all too much. I ended up on Prozac just so I can function. I gained more weight. Again, despite my eating habits, I don't smoke enough. Again, despite all that, my eating habits have not changed. What the hell was happening? A nurse at my place of work suggested that I might be in perimenopause, and I should get tested for that. She said that could cause weight gain. Okay, makes sense. I saw how my mother's weight ballooned after menopause took hold of her. I knew a lot of women upon hitting menopause, perimenopause, whose weight ballooned as well. Still, why the hell was I so unlucky? I had my blood sugar checked. As diabetes runs on both sides of my family, I had to get screened yearly. My glucose fasting levels were always within normal range. I had a few issues with fluctuating blood pressure, as in sometimes it would go high and sometimes it would sink. But other than that, nothing much. That pretty much went on all my life. Anyway, I stopped gaining, and my weight pretty much hung at 220 pounds over the next few years. In 2014, I had decided to attempt to go vegan. That was the first and failed time, kids. I had seen others with a similar situation to mine. That is stubborn weight gain. They went vegan and had positive results with that. Plus, I was starting to learn that what the dairy industry was doing, and it was upsetting to me, to put it mildly. And it was gross. Yeah, the dairy industry is really super gross. It was that year I also found a new doctor, a young man fresh out of residency, an idealist. So that worked really well for me. He's still my GP as of today. He was the first who never gawked at my weight or made any comments. The first doctor to actually take the time to examine me and to talk to me. He never dismissed me as a crazy person, as many doctors had in the past. Something wrong with a test, he himself would call me in. I'm still, as I said, I'm still followed by him to this day. 11 months on that vegan diet, I lost about 15 pounds, went down to about 205. Unfortunately, after the 11 months, I quit being vegan as my diet was quite boring. Oh, suffice to say, man, the things I did not know back then. I went back to being a vegetarian and I gained most of that weight back. Well, of course I would. There was a change in the diet. Suffice to say, my frustration was never ending. But I was slowly figuring out that sometimes that's how the ball bounces. We all know that skinny person who eats whatever they like under the sun, and as much of it as they please, and whenever they feel like it, and yet they do not gain an ounce. And I believe there were studies done on such people in the UK. If I find that one, I think it was from the BBC. If I find that link, I will put it below in the description box. Why couldn't the reverse hold true? Someone who is careful with what they eat but remain overweight. It was later in 2014 I had that major breakdown that pretty much changed my life forever. I ended up on sick leave again for the long term, only to never return to work again. As many of you know, I am retired now. So by then, I was staying home, but attending that nasty DBT program 3 days per week. I was fat shamed by my individual therapist. Oh yeah, she was really a prize, let me tell you. So even the exit report from the program head, the head psychiatrist, the head inmate, I don't know what to call him. Anyways, the exit report from the program had a cheap shot near the end written by the head psychiatrist. It said that I was an oddly dressed obese woman. And classy with a K. Was that really necessary? I mean, we're discussing my progress or lack thereof in their program. I don't see how my appearance would have anything to do with it, nor should it. What did that have to do with the price of tea in China? Seriously? Especially since the psychiatrist who ran the program, get this kids, he was obese himself. Probably more so than I was again. And some of those Hawaiian shirts he wore was not doing him any favors. Just saying. Another example of the double standards of how society views overweight men versus overweight women. Oh, and he loved his Coca-Cola. Something I never drink. It's kind of disgusting when you think about it. Fast forward to summer 2017. Ooh, a fast track to weight gain. The hell was happening? I requested my family doctor to refer me to someone, so he referred me to a gastroenterologist who also specialized in weight management. Other than being too much of an alarmist at times, she actually listened to me and examined me. She took the time. She told me straight out she was not putting me on any diet at the time because she thought I had some health issues that would have been related to my weight. And she wanted to run some tests first. Yeah, how about that? A doctor venturing to see what is happening first before jumping to conclusions. That is a concept that just might be crazy enough to work. Wouldn't you say, kids? She basically told me that my liver and spleen were enlarged, something I did not know. I knew I had liver cysts. They were benign, and folks in my family had them too, so it was really nothing really to write home about, so to speak. She had also found that I had fluid buildup in my legs. She saw that I had sock rings around my calves and my shins. And holy hell, she was right. It was only when I removed my socks for a few hours my legs would look somewhat normal again. She told me that she did not believe that my weight issues were food related. Her words, not mine. Again, she decided against putting me on any diet until all tests were in. Just a side note, anybody who says that fluid buildup in the legs or anywhere does not cause weight gain or does not prevent weight loss is dead wrong. Another example would be my father, who was suffering from liver failure throughout the last years of his life. He had edema in his legs at the time of his death. The doctor had said that the fluid in his legs alone packed on another 60 pounds on him. Yes, he was another example. He was not skinny. He never was a skinny man. Those last few years of his life when he was sick, he wasn't eating much of anything, and he basically couldn't hold food down. His liver just couldn't handle it. But yeah, he was not super skinny. Anyway, I had my thyroid tested amongst the huge requisition of tests to be had. Indeed, hypothyroidism was found. I was prescribed Synthroid, which I will be on for the rest of my life. And apparently it was quite advanced too. It was at that time I was referred for a treadmill stress test with a cardiologist. Yep, That Dr. Colin Rose, who loved emaciated, pale women in old movies, and implied that vegetarians eat nothing but chocolate cake all day. I also got fat shamed by him. What else is new? He had an evil smile on his face as he was doing it too. Kind of, that kind of smirk you just want to smack off. Even another specialist I saw later who knew him told me that he was basically insane. His words. Kind of relieved. I also find it funny. Yeah, Dr. Rose must be really insane if one of his colleagues is telling openly a patient about this. Anyways, again, I digress. Early in 2018, I was rushed to the ER a few times. The first, I was put on stroke watch. I was not having the usual type of migraines I usually had. Symptoms were more amplified. The pain was located in different areas. So it was a very different and kind of scary. A week later, I had chest pains and I was sent to the hospital again. I had an elevated heart rate and the EKGs were reading tachycardia. So that's basically a heart rate of over 100 beats per minute, I believe. It's per minute it's measured? Yeah, 100 beats per minute at rest. So that's what tachycardia basically means. It was at that time I remembered the only time I lost weight after turning 40. It was those 11 months in 2014, 2015 when I was vegan. So I thought it would be worth pursuing again. Plus a longtime girlfriend who had multiple chronic health issues, one of which, Cushing Syndrome, caused her to have weight gain. And many other issues that went along with that. So her health had improved. 6 months after being vegan, her health had improved significantly. In the past, she was hospitalized once a month. Then after becoming vegan, the hospitalizations became way fewer and far between. Her life was becoming almost normal again. She persuaded me to give it another go. So this time things were different. I had a friend who can communicate with. I would have support. She sent me online resources. I also started looking at the vegan channels on YouTube and found channels like High Carb Hannah, Happy Healthy Vegan, Mike the Vegan, and Goji Man, and found them particularly helpful. I also found vegan cooking channels like that of Avant-Garde Vegan or Cheap Lazy Vegan and learned new recipes. So my menu became more varied. And actually it's become an interest of mine, vegan cuisine. Slowly the weight started to come off. And by the late March rolled around, about half that weight, half of those 50 pounds, I would say about 20 pounds, give or take, was lost. Other teeth were cracking as well as my front tooth. The horror. I was thinking, oh God, I'm already unattractive enough. Why are my front teeth breaking? Now here's where the accidental part came in. That time when the weight loss was faster. After seeing 3 different dentists, all concluded that my front teeth all had to be removed. Oh man, I don't have to tell you what kind of anxiety that caused around here. It's like, I'm going to be hideous. I'm going to look more hideous than before. And if people didn't take me seriously because I did not have the appearance that society dictated as attractive, it was going to be worse with no teeth or broken teeth. Oh, the frustration, though, especially was because I had spent a lot of money over the years trying to save those front teeth. Not to get into too much detail, but I started having dental issues at age 14, so I guess it was a long time coming. So I had my upper teeth removed, albeit reluctantly. And let me tell you, kids, it takes a lot longer to recover from having front teeth removed than having the back ones removed. I was unable to eat anything solid, so I supplemented with vitamins and such. Pretty much lived on smoothies, applesauce, and mashed potatoes. What's more, I was often feeling sick to my stomach during the recovery, but I forced myself to get calories in. I knew that it would fuck with my system if I didn't at least try to get some calories in me. I got my temporary denture 2 weeks following the surgery, and I was not adapting well to them at all. And to this day, I'm still not. They're still deathly uncomfortable. And they do make food taste weird. That's what a mouthful of plastic will do. And it is a foreign object. To make matters worse, I also developed a stomach ulcer. What else is new? Remembering I had my first ulcer when I was about 16, 17. Yikes. Anyways, it was only a month afterward. Another 18 months had come off. I lost a bit more in September. As I mentioned, food actually tastes weird with that piece of plastic in your mouth. And yeah, I know a lot of people learn to eat without it, but I also know it's not very good. There's a risk of choking or food not being digested properly because you're not chewing it. So I resumed the pureed and liquefied diet, stuff that did not require my denture. And besides, it was easier on my ulcer. I lost another 10 pounds, and then I plateaued by the time the end of October, beginning of November rolled around. Then I left town to visit a friend and his family for Christmas, and then he and I drove back to my home here in Montreal for New Year's. I gained a few pounds, as everybody tends to do at Christmas, but nothing too shocking. To this day, I haven't been able to lose it. And I'm really trying to not stress over it. Again, that's sometimes how things go. Today, I weigh about 190 pounds, still overweight. But for the time being, I have to accept that this is my new set point after years of a set point of about 215 pounds. So, yeah, all I can do is monitor and make sure I do not get even within 5 pounds of 200 pounds. So, doing my best, and that's all I can do. All that weight loss with no exercise whatsoever, I might add. I think I screwed my metabolism again. That's going to do it for this video. I will leave links below to some interesting articles on that subject, as I mentioned before, and it will be for your perusal. Take care of yourselves and each other. Straight talking Fedora Chic, over and out.